Boker Tov, everyone. Shalom. Rabbi Eric Solomon, Raleigh, North Carolina. It is Monday, April 27th. It is the 18th day of the counting of the Omer, as we make our way to Shavuot. I want to talk, there are so many amazing psukim and verses in this week's Torah portion, especially Kedoshim. And the one I want to talk about this morning is, you shall surely rebuke your neighbor. I am Adonai. Rebuke. I remember when I first learned this, I don't know, some whatever, years ago. Rebuke is a nice SAT word or ACT word, I should say, for give critical feedback. Tell someone the bad news. And I want to share my little Torah like this. Again, being a congregational rabbi is such a privilege and such a blessing, most days, okay? And I have seen over my career, by and large, my congregation here at Beth Meyer, and before that, when I was in New York as an assistant rabbi, the behavior of most congregants is outstanding, or members of community, leadership. Everyone has their bad days. People have struggles, whatever, including me, by the way. I'm not always my perfect self. I try my best. I'm working on it too. We're all doing our best. But what I've found in community is that there are times where there are people, or it's not common, but there's a person who is acting completely inappropriately. Sadly, maybe even hurtfully, could be insulting people, making people uncomfortable. I'm not talking about someone who's socially awkward or just someone who's just a bit, off in some way. That happens, and these people are made in the image of God, and we've talked about love your neighbor as yourself. It's an opportunity to perform the mitzvah of love your neighbor. I'm talking about someone who is abusive even in the setting of a congregation, takes advantage. Sometimes maybe decides, I sometimes call them the religious police, to start telling everybody else how to behave a certain way, to exercise power inappropriately. It may even come from a good place. Perhaps this person's concerned about some aspect of Jewish tradition or some aspect of Jewish life or the congregation. It has a holy intention, but they're hurting people's feelings. Now, what I've found is that the first response to a significant amount of people, and by the way, I'm not putting myself out of this, I work on it too, is at first to ignore it. Just to ignore it, This person did something awkward, did something mean, let's just change the topic. And I get it, It's like a roadblock, you're just trying to go around, right? If that behavior continues to go on, some people do more than avoid, they just leave the situation. They go away. They recognize where that person will be. They don't just avoid that moment. They just avoid the person altogether, Even if they witness something terrible happen and someone was hurt or offended, insulted by the behavior, the first response is one of like, how can I get out of this the quickest and just avoid confrontation? And, you can imagine this is a self-protective thing, maybe even Darwin, right? Something in life is out there, it's dangerous, it's causing a problem. Let's just get away from it. I get it. The problem is, what if that person is continuously acting in ways that are harmful to the community? I remember one time there was a member of our community, this is years ago, person no longer is there anymore, who was causing such mean, rude behavior in a certain setting regularly that people would come visit our congregation, and this person would be one of the first people to interact with, and they thought that that's what our congregation was about, or somehow was that set the tone. Not only the person, but the fact that everyone was avoiding it, and frankly, people around it were letting it happen. I actually was not so aware of it at first. It was happening not near me. It took a long time before I became aware of it. So I want to come back to this idea. It says in the Torah, Hocheach tochiach et amitecha. Very interesting word. You shall surely rebuke. And surely means that the word is doubled. You must absolutely give critical feedback to your amit, to your fellow. So one of the obvious reasons is because even though the easy way out when you see something bad happen is just to go away and walk away, the Torah says, no. You must surely stand up and tell that person that their behavior is wrong. The Talmud goes even further. And this is, Maimonides has great commentary on this, says, but there is no rebuke, there is no telling someone that they've done something wrong without love. I think it's Rabbi Akiva says there, he's lived his whole life and he's never effectively seen or rarely seen someone who's able to give that feedback with love. The point of rebuke, the Torah, I believe, is saying, and the commentaries certainly are, is that it's so delicate, it's so hard to do. On the one hand, you can't avoid when you see something bad happening. And by the way, it's not just with one person. It's with a congregation. It's with a community. It's in the workplace. It's in a society. That when you see something wrong, you shall surely rebuke. You have to stand up. You can't stand idly by. You can't witness it and say, oh, I wish I didn't see that, and run away. You must. You absolutely must. The Torah pushes, I am Adonai, to say, like, I know it's hard. It would be easier to step away and not see it and try and unsee it and just avoid it. But no, you must speak up. But it must come from a place of love. And Maimonides says it beautifully. You must do it in a way that is meant to help the other person. It is not the opportunity to shame the other person. It should be, must surely rebuke, done sensitively, that honors the image of God in that person. It's possible that person didn't know what they're doing is wrong. But even if they do, the first attempt must be done sensitively. That feel that sense that I care about you and that I'm offering you this feedback because I love you and I want to help you be better. People in my congregation where someone is sadly addicted to drugs or some kind of other poor behavior, everyone just wants to walk away from it at first. But that intervention, as painful and difficult as it is, I am not saying it's easy. It's extraordinarily courageous. But that intervention is an act of love. It is, I love you so much. I care about you. I won't let this happen. Now, you can't control the person's response, but you can control yours. And one of the things Maimonides says is, the first time you see someone do that kind of behavior, or you're aware that it's reached the point that it needs to be told, you must first do that in private. You have to bring the person away from the public sphere, and you must speak to them in a soft voice, he says, so true, in a place that shows love. Because if you do it publicly, at least at first, it will shame them. And shaming is its own sin, actually. To give tochacha means to bring someone privately, to say, literally, I love you, brother, sister, friend. I want to share this with you because I'm concerned about you. I want to share this with you because you're hurting people's feelings. You may not be aware of it, but I want to do this to show you my love for you. One of the things that pains me so much in our time is those that say that those that criticized our society or our country definitively don't love it. Kind of a love it or leave it attitude. I love my country. I love deeply the state of Israel. I love deeply my congregation, even if, it's challenging. And it's because I love it. And I know it's difficult and it's hard for me, When I get up on the bima sometimes, I have to give a sermon that I know some people in my congregation are not going to like. The easy road for a clergy person is like, let's stop talking about it. Let's just move on. I don't want to talk about this issue. It's going to upset people. The Torah says you have no choice. Hocheach tochiach, you must. But it must be done with love. It must be done for the betterment of the other person. It must be done with that intention, at the least. If that is your intention, to love someone, to care for someone, because you want to see them improve, because you want to see them stop harming themselves or harming others. Now that is hocheach tochiach. That is tochacha. That lasts. Will the person take it? Will they change? But you have performed the mitzvah of not pretending to avoid it or closing your eyes, which itself is a very serious sin that people, sadly, I don't think take as seriously enough. If I see my country, my society, my congregation, my workplace doing something sinful, it's a sin to do nothing to. In this day, we need to stay safe and healthy, and we see people perhaps doing behaviors that are not okay. It's not our job to run around telling everyone they're bad and they're sinners, and it's our job, appropriately, in the right context, perhaps to say lovingly, look, I'm worried about you. I love you. Please, consider going on a different path. The Torah actually demands it by repeating the word, hocheach tocheach twice. Boker tov, shalom everybody.